I've been known to criticize it quite harshly, I think Persona 4 is a genuinely great game, and its 2012 upgrade, Persona 4 Golden, was such an awesome improvement that for many people it's the sole reason to even own a PlayStation Vita. But despite that greatness, Persona 4 Golden is home to one of my biggest pet peeves in the entire franchise. A seemingly inconsequential detail that for me sours what is one of the best moments in the series. So get ready for a localization lashing as I take you all through what I call the Hunger Blunder. Now, before I really get into the meat and potatoes of this, I'd like to give a clear spoiler warning for Persona 4, as there's no way to discuss this topic without getting into some very heavy spoiler territory. Alright, so let's get started. The issue I want to discuss today isn't necessarily a problem with Persona 4 Golden itself, as this problem only exists thanks to Atlus USA's localization. We may be long past the days of 1996's Revelations Persona that turned characters like Reiji into Chris, but Atlus USA does still take it upon themselves to make the occasional change when they bring a game over. Some of these changes are huge, but many would argue are fine or even improvements, like changing the character Kuma into Teddy. Some are smaller, so feel mostly harmless, like changing Futaba Sakura's codename Navi into Oracle in Persona 5, which I get as a Batman reference, but that does feel like we're back to that Revelations territory for a moment. And some are just so minuscule that they're actually confusing, like changing Minazuki's persona, Tsukuyomi, into Tsukiyomi. I don't even know why. It seems pointless. But the change today isn't just some throwaway detail. It's one that drastically alters the entire symbolism of what I consider to be one of the best additions Golden brought to the table, and that is the social link of Toru Adachi. To rip the spoiler band-aid off right now, Toru Adachi is one of the primary antagonists in Persona 4. He is the culprit behind the serial killings in Inaba that kickstart the entire plot of the game. Persona 4 Golden added a social link with Adachi that I honestly felt was handled brilliantly. Unlike nearly every other character in the game, Adachi's social link doesn't operate on a fixed schedule, and he has rank-up events that may require it to be day or night. After all, he's an adult with a job, he's got things to do. This alone felt great, and really made the town of Inaba feel real, compared to certain other characters who are like, I will always be in the same spot every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday afternoons. And what's kind of awesome is that Adachi's social link events almost feel as though they're an intentional critique on the humdrum nature of the entire mechanic. Like, oh hey, we ate a meal together, now we're best friends. It's only when you can look back on these events with the hindsight that he's the culprit that these events do feel sort of awkward and forced compared to other characters, without the game so bluntly giving it away. Or, I mean, if you played the original Persona 4 first, that too. It's also only possible to raise Adachi's social link to rank 6 throughout your free time, as the other rank ups will be done automatically throughout the story, assuming you've completed all the necessary steps beforehand. Not only this, but doing Adachi's social link will open up the possibility for a brand new ending known as the Accomplice ending. I mean, sure, it's considered to be worse than the game's bad ending, and there's not really any reason to do it beyond the morbid curiosity of wanting to see Yu Narukami's entire life go up in figurative and slightly literal flames, but still, it was a cool addition. The fact that Persona 5 didn't have any confidants that worked on the same level as Adachi's social link was actually something of a disappointment to me, and I'm sort of hoping Persona 5 Royal will have some sort of tricks up its own sleeve. I'm watching you, Faith Arcana, with your 5 ranks compared to the usual 10. Okay, so you're probably asking by now, just what does Adachi's social link have to do with localization? Well, the answer to that question lies in Adachi's Arcana. If I may quickly assume you've never played a Persona game for a second, every Persona user, party member or otherwise, and social link is represented by one of the major Arcana from a tarot deck. And you've got pretty much all of them. Emperor, Hanged Man, Temperance, that sort of thing. Certain characters even get represented by multiple Arcana, like Shinjiro from Persona 3 encapsulating the Hierophant Arcana with his persona, but representing the Moon social link in Persona 3 Portable. But since all of the major arcana are typically spoken for in one way or another, when it comes time to add social links to an enhanced version of the game, they naturally have to draw from other sources, namely, other tarot decks. We've seen this done plenty of times already, like with Aegis and Marie being represented by the Aeon Arcana, which is from the Thoth Tarot deck, where it replaces the more traditional Judgment Arcana. Even Persona 5 Royal is already embracing this, like having the Consultant Arcana from the El Gran Tarot Esoterico deck, which replaces the Magician. Adachi is represented by a singular arcana with two names, and those names are the Jester Arcana and the Hunger Arcana. If it's not already obvious by the entire point of this video, these names are exclusive to the English version of the game. In the original Japanese version, these arcana were known as the Pierrot Arcana and the Lust Arcana. So let's talk about the Pierrot and the Jester first. I'm actually totally fine with this change. It falls under that Navi to Oracle area I talked about earlier, where I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's ultimately harmless. The reason why I'm fine with this change is because neither Pierrot nor Jester is a real arcana. It's completely made up. And that's the absolute brilliance of it. See, after finding out that Adachi is the murderer, assuming you've done his social link properly up to this point, you has the option to track down Adachi for a face-to-face chat. And let me stress this. This scene between the two of them may just be my absolute favorite moment in the entire Persona series. It's a scene that calls the entire nature of social links and bonds into question, and it's an amazingly well done moment that somehow manages to blend both story and the gameplay mechanics of social links together. Adachi says it best when he says,
"The person you believed in was a version of me who only existed in your head."
I got goosebumps the first time I saw this scene. During this scene is when the Pierrot Arcana changes to the Lust Arcana, or in English, the Jester Arcana changes to the Hunger Arcana. So, why does this bother me? Why should it bother you? Well, because like I said, Pierrot and Jester are both fake, but Lust and Hunger, only Lust is real. The reason why I was fine with Jester is because it's supposed to be fake. Unlike Yu's Arcana, the Fool, who is genuinely foolish, a Pierrot or Jester represents a different kind of fool, one who is playing the part of the fool. And so even with that change, the symbolism is still there. It's a fake arcana because, like Adachi himself basically said, it's a fake bond. Adachi was merely playing a role up until this moment. Like the previously mentioned Aeon Arcana, the Lust Arcana comes from the Thoth deck of tarot cards, where it replaces the Strength Arcana, which you can see from the card having the Roman numeral for 11 on it. And that is where the true symbolism of this entire social link comes into play. In this one scene, it goes from a fake arcana, Pierrot, to a real arcana, Lust. Because in this one scene, Yu has to come to grips with the fact that this is the true bond between them. It may be as adversaries, but this is the real nature of their relationship. And that is completely lost when we now have a fake arcana, Jester, turning into another fake arcana, Hunger. The change is essentially meaningless at this point, and in my opinion undercuts one of the most interesting things the series has ever done with social links from a narrative perspective. I'm not really sure why they made this change, but if I had to guess, I just assume it's because typically when people hear the word lust, they think of sex. And maybe Atlas USA just didn't want people to associate Yu and Adachi's bond with sex. But if I may, allow me to throw out a couple of words here. Fortitude, power, force, possession. These are all real alternative names for the Strength Arcana that exist in other tarot decks. Even if Atlas USA didn't want to specifically use the word lust, they had other options that would have been equally fitting without changing the overall significance of Adachi's social link. Some people have tried to defend this change when I've talked about it in the past, saying stuff like, well, hunger is a type of lust, so it's still fitting, but sorry, I don't think it is. It just feels wrong to me. A wizard is a type of magician, but it'd still feel kinda weird if we suddenly started saying Yosuke was of the wizard arcana. So that's all I really have to say about it. Why did I make a video about this? Truthfully, I don't know. Maybe it's because Golden is nearly 10 years old and it still bugs me. Maybe I just wanted to raise awareness of this fact. Maybe misery loves company and I wanted you all to be mad about it too. I don't really have any grand epic points here, it's just a subject I'm passionate about and wanted to discuss. So, whether you agree or disagree with me, feel free to share your own thoughts on this down in the comments below, and hey, maybe I'm totally wrong, and Hunger really is a genuine Arcana from some obscure tarot deck I've never even heard of. I've looked into it myself and found nothing, but if I'm truly wrong here, let me know. Now, I'm gonna get going, because I have a mighty hunger for some pizza bagels.